Right, good afternoon, councillors and staff. Welcome to our April council meeting. Hope everyone enjoyed Easter.
Thank you.
Lots of chocolates. Please be advised that this council meeting is being recorded and live streamed. By speaking at this meeting, you agree to being recorded and live streamed. Please ensure that if and when you speak, you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. The One Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this meeting. The recording of this meeting will be made publicly available on Council's website. And I'll call the first item, applications for leave of absence. Before I get a mover and a seconder, you will be moving and seconding acknowledgement or acceptance that we've got Councillor Nash coming in online as well. All right, so I have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Poole, second by Councillor Rawson. I have one leave of absence, which is Councillor Weaver. And as I said, we've got Councillor Nash coming in online. So that being said, I will now put that. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Poole, second by Councillor Rawson again. Thank you both. Does anybody have anything to declare this stage?
No, nothing to
Nothing
declare.
to declare.
Nothing? I've got nothing, so I'll put that. All those
Aye.
in favour? Against? That's carried. Item 3 is declarations for political donations. Mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor Jones moved, second by Councillor Pearson. Anything to declare? Anybody? I've got
Nothing.
nothing. Thank you, everybody. I'll put that. All those in
Aye.
favour? Against? Carried. Item 4 is the mayoral minute appointments, which I will move, and I've tabled a report. Councillor Rawson has, Councillor Jones has. Anybody else? Councillor. Yep. Councillor Pearson has. Councillor Batten has. Does anybody have any verbal for the mayoral minute?
I'll send mine in
What?
later.
Thanks, Councillor Nash. All right, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Item 6 is confirmation of the minutes, and it's the ordinary council meeting from 5. Sorry, committee of the whole. Sorry, getting ahead of myself, rushing. Item 5, committee of the whole. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Batten, second by Councillor Pearson. Does anybody wish to call anything in the committee of the whole? Councillor Rawson.
Just item 10.
Item 10. Thank you. Anything else? All right, I'll put that. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? That's carried. Thank you, everybody. Now, item 6, confirmation of the minutes, which is the ordinary council meeting of March, the Community Economy and Culture Committee meeting on the 8th of April, and the Infrastructure Transport Committee held on the 8th of April. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Orion, second by Councillor Rawson. Anybody have anything with the minutes at all?
Yep.
All happy? All right, I'll put that. All those
Aye.
in favour?
Aye.
Against? That's carried. Item 7 is confirmation of the Cabon Floodplain Management Advisory Committee meeting minutes. Now, just these are only minutes only. We're not endorsing any plans or anything like that. That's just the minutes of that meeting. A mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Jones, second by Councillor Rawson. Anything on the minutes at all? Councillor Poole.
Yeah, I just got a query with the voluntary purchases, and I know I found the answer a couple of hours later when I read the full minutes, but a bit more information on if 2 North Street declines purchase, can we use that money to move on to the next available property?
Acting General Manager.
Thank you, through the chair. To North Street, I can advise council that has officially declined council's offer of purchase and has defaulted to the Reconstruction Authority offer. I can't go into in camera the items, the details of that, but happy to brief council on that later. With regards to the leftover funds, the Reconstruction Authority project is underway currently, and they are negotiating, so going through valuation processes. Much of those that would be offered a spot in the council program are actually subject to the valuations under the Reconstruction Authority process. So we really wouldn't have a house or a property to go to at this stage. Given that this is externally funded from the state government and it has been going on for a long time, it would be my recommendation to proceed forward with only the 3 houses that we've got. The valuations have been higher than expected, so it is expected that the projects will come on budget as they are. So any additional houses that we put on there will push the project over budget.
Yep, Button.
Thank you. Through you. So just on the Molong box walls, I wasn't aware that those box walls were being bought for Molong specifically. I thought they were being bought for the show. I might have just misunderstood.
No, that's correct. You're right. They are for the use. They're transportable. They are for Cabonne Wide. Yep.
Right, May, Mr. Mayor. The box walls are stored in Molong, given the flash flooding potential and the frequency of issues that occur in Molong comparative to the other towns. But as the Mayor has pointed out, they are meant to be across the whole of the Shire area. Just having them stored in Molong allows for a faster response time and to more frequent events. And so we save time having to get them to Molong instead elsewhere.
So were the SES personnel only from Molong or from across the Shire who were trained in it?
For you, Mr. Mayor, there was no SES volunteers per se. They were from the SES corporate office in Bathurst.
Anything further on the minutes? All right, I'll put that. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against, that's carried. Item 8 is the confirmation of the Pools Advisory Committee meeting minutes. Move in a second. Moved by Councillor Poole, second by Councillor Pearson. Any discussion on the Pool Advisory minutes? Councillor Poole.
Yep, I attended that. That was a very good, positive meeting. Good feedback from the staff and the volunteer committee people that attended. So there's been a solid uptake on usage of our pools. Season passes are well up. Attendance figures are up, but they're probably a minimum up. One of the negatives that come out of the year was not everyone was scanning in at times. If 2 people were meeting at the gate to scan in, one might scan in and the other would zip through. So we're going to work on educating the public next year to help us collect the full amount of our data. But otherwise, good meeting, and I think it was a good year for our pools.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, I'll put that. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against, that's carried. Item 9 is review of organisational structure. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Mr. Batten moved, second by Councillor Poole. Any discussion on the review, which is remaining the same? I think it's just procedural, as you read in the report. Yeah. All right, well, I'll put that. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against, that's carried. Item 10 is in committee of the whole. Item 11 is request for donations. Can I have a mover and a seconder?
I'll move it.
Moved by Councillor Poole. Seconded by Councillor Nash. Thank you. Any discussion on the request for donations? No? Or Councillor O'Reilly?
I will just talk on the St John's Molong Cadet Division request. I think that's fabulous. I wish it was all over the Shire. What a wonderful opportunity the young people in Molong have to be able to do this program. I think it's really, really good, and I think it's wonderful if council's supporting it too.
No, well said. It is one of the biggest cadets, St John's cadets in the state, actually. It's very well supported, and the kids love it, and they do a terrific job. Turning up to events as well, but also to do that program and learn skills. So it's just fantastic. The Deputy Mayor represented me at a presentation of the award not long ago, and I don't know how many cadets are there roughly anymore. Yeah, so it's quite impressive. Yeah.
So good, particularly as we are focusing on youth. It's so good to see young people participating in their community and contributing to their community like that. They're learning life lessons doing this sort of program.
Yeah.
It's really good.
All right, any other discussion at all? All right, well, I'll put that. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against, that's carried. Item 12 is the 2025 Local Roads Congress. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Rawson, seconded by Councillor Pearson. The recommendation is that the Mayor or a representative, so if by chance I'm not available to attend, which has been the case on the odd occasion, I think Councillor Rawson went last year, didn't you? Yeah. 2 years. So could we nominate an alternative? Yeah.
My suggestion should be probably someone on the roads committee. Would be more appropriate, I would have thought. So,
Councillor Nash is the chair of the roads committee.
oh no, I was thinking of the roads advisory committee, but I actually either really, yeah.
No, I'll decline that one. You can go, Peter Batten.
It's generally the first week in June, yeah, Monday the 2nd of June.
I've been the last couple of years. It's well worth attending because it's quite good discussion, good interaction, and I'm happy to step down and not do it this year if someone else wants to do it.
All right, so if I can't attend, alternative is
Yeah.
Councillor Batten. All right. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, I'll put that. All those
Aye.
in favour? Against? That's carried. Item 13 is the concept design for Molong CBD stormwater and levy. Moved by Deputy Mayor Jones, seconded by Councillor Poole. Any discussion on this at all? Councillor.
Just a comment that this is right down as Public Works' alley. It's their job to do stuff like this and be efficient as well, so, yep.
Exactly, and just gets the ball rolling or continuing. We've had the ball rolling, we just got to keep it rolling, so this continues on. So, all very good. Any further discussion on that at all?
No, honestly, I just wasn't sure where the money was coming from for this, but I was just reading there at the end, set aside sufficient funding within the special consultancy budget. So I must say that's something that hasn't cropped up before, I don't think. I haven't come across that one before.
Through the Mayor, the infrastructure division has two areas of consultancy budgets that we maintain. One's for the development of projects that to shovel readiness, such as Gumball Road and Lake Canobolas Road. The other one is for consultancies that are required that come up throughout the year. Examples such as dealing with land matters that we don't necessarily are aware of prior when the budgets are set, and other requests that come through council at the time to pursue other items, such as the Pillins Park drainage line designs. So that does go through the council budget process. It's within the operational budget, so it doesn't stand out as much as the capital, but the equates to about $250,000 per year.
Thank you, Acting General Manager.
Any further discussion on that at all? No? All right, I'll put that. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against, that's carried. Item 14 is the extension of Cadumble Road to regular maintenance program. Councillor Batten moved, seconded by Councillor Bull. Any discussion on that? Councillor Batten.
Yeah, I just want to share some information on this one. This has been on the agenda for Cumnock Progress Association for some time. And the reason it's been on there is that former employee of Combined Council, who was actually a grader operator, John Austin, died last year. And he actually maintained that previously for Combined Council. That's part of the reason why they're actually asking for it to be reinstated. What happens is people who are on the north-eastern side of Cumnock, they actually use it as actually shortcut to get to the tip, as it says here about it in close proximity to the tip. And so what we can expect to see is some traffic on that road. So the standard that's proposed here, I think it needs to be kept in mind that that should be the minimum standard, and we should monitor the volume of traffic that actually uses it, uses that road to see whether it actually is going to require any further upgrading in status. Just put that on the agenda.
Through the chair, intent was just to do some minor works there to bring it up to scratch so that like RFS trucks and things could use it. Yes, ongoing we would monitor it to see what sort of general use it gets. We start getting a lot of traffic on it, then it's obviously going to need more work than anticipated. So anyway, we can monitor that moving forward. With this minimal amount of work to it this year, we can, or next, going forward into next year, we can.
May I just get one in?
Yeah.
Councillor Batten, I think you just mentioned that this road links to the landfill site. It doesn't. It's actually called the old Tip Road. There's a former site there. It runs along the back of the showground, but it doesn't connect further out of town to the current landfill site. Just wanted to clarify that with you.
Any further discussion?
Oh, through the chair, I'd just like to say something if I could.
Yes, go.
Yeah,
Councillor Nash.
I just think that this will make the Cumnock people very happy because they've been really worried about this, and especially, as you say, for fire risk and all the other things that happens in these small towns. So, yeah, thank you very much for that.
Thank you. All right, no further discussion. I'll put that. All those in
Aye.
favour? Aye. Against, carried. Item 15 is road closure report after advertising for road reserve adjacent to lot 228 DP 750406 and lot 2 DP 868771. Mover and a second, please. Moved by Councillor Pearson, second by Councillor Poole. Any discussion on that at all? Councillor Rossum.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I agree with the recommendation to decline the proposal and offer a lease, but I'm concerned about the vegetation that lies along that and the retention of that vegetation. It looks to be a pretty good strip of vegetation which has an environmental benefit. I would hope that if we were leasing that corridor that we would have some condition on the lease which indicated that there can be no clearing of that vegetation.
Yeah, through the chair, we can put conditions on it that remnant vegetation would stay in place and it's used to.
So is that just a normal thing, or I mean, I would like that to be a condition. Yeah.
Well, we can consider that and put in a potential lease for it. Yes.
Yep. Thanks.
Given that, probably want that recorded, so can you just word up, say, point 4? Who was the mover and seconder on that? Pearson. Or something about, would you say that a condition of the lease is that no vegetation is disturbed or removed?
Disturbed or removed? Well, it can be, look, unless, you know,
Hazardous.
unless it's a hazard or, you know, there's a safety concern or that sort of thing, or weeds, they've still got, you know, There has to be some sort of weed control, but, well, the landowner presumably, particularly if they're leasing it. I'm just concerned that a lot of our, as you know, a lot of the these paper roads all through the countryside are often the only vegetation corridors that we have in many areas, and this looks to be one of those. So it'd be really, I'd be really concerned if a leaseholder came along and then started to cut down the trees that were there to extend their grazing area, for example. You know, I wouldn't want that to happen.
There you go. How's that read, all right? Point 4. Condition of the lease is that no vegetation is disturbed or removed unless there is a hazard or biosecurity concern. Happy? All right, mover and second, happy with that? Yep. All right. Is there any further discussion on item 15? All right, that being the case, I'll put that. All those in favour? Aye. Against, that's carried. Thank you, everybody. Item 16, Combined Council Roads Advisory Committee determination of community representatives. Move out a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Pearson, second by Councillor Rawson. Any discussion on that at all? Councillor Rawson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I just wanted to thank all of the previous members of this advisory committee, and these advisory committees have been run really well. The current members who are, looks like they're putting their hands up again, have been excellent. Provide a really good view on roads and the road needs for our area. So I certainly heartily endorse them coming back onto the committee. And I notice there's a few new names there too, and they look excellent. So I think excellent choices, and I look forward to more of these committee meetings. Thank you.
Any further comment or discussion?
No.
Nope. All right. I'll put that. All those in favour? Against, that's carried. Item 17 is the Village Enhancement Fund. Move in a second.
I'll move it.
Moved by Councillor Nash, thank you. Councillor Poole is the seconder. Any discussion on that at all?
Very good.
All good?
They're all good ones.
All right. All right, well, I'll put that. All those in
Aye.
favour? Against, that's carried. Item 18 is the Events Assistance Program. Move in a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Poole, second by Councillor Rawson. Any discussion on the Events Assistance Program?
Mr. Mayor, just regarding the Cumnock Family Fun Day event, absolutely support that event. I know this is something that the volunteers have been putting on for a few years now. It's a fantastic local event. Just given the tightness of the Events Assistance Program guidelines, sorry, not guidelines, the budget, sorry, the Events Assistance Program budget, and the fact that this event is being held in October 2025, would it be better if council obviously still approves the funding today, but that money comes out of the 25-26 financial year?
Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the question on notice, Mr. Deputy Mayor. The discussion with the only other event that's scheduled in the meantime has come to an agreement that they will be seeking the funding in July of this year. So relatively safe from this perspective with the recommendation to proceed forward. The Cumnock Family Fun Day organisers do need to start making some expenditure items now on this, so it is prudent to consider this in this financial year.
Thank you. Any further discussion, questions? Nope. All right, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against, carried. Item 9 is Combined Community Assistance Program Round 2. We have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Jones, seconded by Councillor Pearson. Any discussion on that one at all? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a couple of things. A really good discussion on this at the most recent Community Economy and Culture Committee meeting. As Council can see, there is some restrictions there in terms of budget. So the committee recommended holding some over to round one of the 2025-26 financial year. And some of those are logical in terms of the Yagara Progress Association's application for a swimming club buzzer. Obviously not much swimming during the winter time. And then the only other thing just to clarify is that there was positive discussions had at the committee meeting around Nashdale Lidster Public Hall replacement of the information sign. It was just an oversight that recommendation didn't come through to council, but obviously a worthwhile project. So yeah, and in terms of the other ones that we've suggested to be round 1, 25-26 and trying to reduce the admin burden on those community groups, there was just a little bit more information needed from the other two groups that I haven't mentioned, the Canowindra Showground and the high school, which is why that they were deferred until that round. But as I said, the committee suggested that to reduce the admin burden, that they just be automatically considered if they still wish to, without having to reapply. But all worthwhile projects, but just to give the council some background. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And I'll just clarify with you, item F, 5,000 Nashdale Lidster didn't come through to council, you're just meaning the minutes. It wasn't captured in the minutes in the discussion. Yeah. Yeah, correct. All right.
Can I ask a question,
Yeah,
Mr Mayor,
Councillor.
through you? Just wondering about like H, which is proposed to be carried forward. They've asked for 5,000, recommended 5,000, total project cost of 13. Is the remainder of that 13, is that coming out of the Village Enhancement Fund, or are they funding it themselves? Because the Village Enhancement Fund in Canowindra has sufficient funds in it if need be, cover 5,000, I would have thought.
Through you, Mr Mayor, that application for funding is coming out of the Showground funding bucket. The Showground's already been the recipient of a significant amount of village enhancement funding from Canowindra, so they're proposing to fund that themselves. There was some questions around approval processes and DA requirements in relation to that application, which is why it has been deferred, seeking further information.
Thank you. Any further comment or discussion? Right, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Item 20 is questions for next meeting. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Rawson, seconded by Councillor Jones. Does anybody have any questions for next meeting? Nope. All right. Councillor Nash is good. Yeah. All right, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Item 21 is business paper items for noting. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Poole, second by Councillor Pearson. Does anybody wish to call out any noting items out? Notings 1 to 10 at the bottom of the papers. Councillor Poole.
I'll just make a comment that I thought items 3 and 4 gave everyone plenty of information, so that was good reports. Thank you to the acting GM and staff.
Thank you. Councillor Rawson.
Oh, look, I was only going to make a quick comment about item 1 about the Auditor General's report. It was interesting to see how many councils across, particularly rural councils, are struggling for resources, as we all know. And it's good to see it written down. It's really obvious in that report. I was frustrated by the report because I was immediately wanting to look to see how we were doing in relation to everyone else, and it's not there in the report. You know, it doesn't break it down. It's not granular down to to council level in this particular report, but I guess we can find that information out if need be. But we certainly didn't appear in any of the really bad sections. You know, the councils were called out for really poor behaviour, so that's a really good sign anyway.
Yeah, we weren't in the bottom 10. When he addressed the country mayors, he was releasing that on the Monday, the naughty and nice list, actually, and we didn't make it either.
No, that was all. That was just wanted to make that comment. It's actually got some really good information in it about the difficulties across the whole local government sector, and potentially good arguments that we can be using for lobbying politicians for getting a better strategy for being sustainable. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Any, Councillor Jones?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Can I call item number 3, please?
Yep. Go.
Speak to that now,
Conley
thank
Store,
you.
Yeah.
Just regarding Conley Store, so last year, following the significant investment made by council into the main street in Molang, I asked for a report just on Conley Store, just given the fact that it is in our main street, and I thought it was important for council to be seen to be at least looking strategically at what we do with the future use of that building. I know there's been, and I know this is a preliminary report, and there'll be further information coming to council in the future. Initially, I suppose I was all for, personally all for council keeping this building, given its cultural and historical importance to the township of Molong. However, looking at this report that we've received, I can't see how it would be feasible for council to significantly invest into the building to get it up to a standard that could be habitable, so to speak, whether that's for council to use for business or to lease out or to sell on. But so therefore I look forward to some of that further information, but yeah, I see moving forward as this being important that we do get this to a point where we can sell as is or improved, but I think given the report as is would be financially more sustainable, more important for council, and also given the amount of work we do, or the council staff do currently have on their books. Anyway, I look forward to further information. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other items wish to be called out and spoken to? Nope. All right, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against, that's carried. Item 22, matters of urgency. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Rawson. Second by Councillor Batten. Does anybody have anything urgent? No? All right, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against, that's carried. Item 23 is Committee of the Whole section of the meeting. Could I have somebody move that we move into Committee of the Whole? Councillor Paul, thank you. Second by Councillor Rawson. All those in favour? Against, carried. Councillor Rawson called out item number 10, which is the IPNR 2526. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Rawson, are you going to move that?
I'll move the. Yes, indeed, I will. Indeed, I will.
Thank you.
Yes, no,
Seconded by Councillor Paul. Councillor Rawson, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I wanted to start by making the statement to congratulate staff for producing quite a remarkable set of documents, which, and I particularly want to focus on the resourcing strategy document, which is done a little bit differently to what we've done before. So it's got the long-term financial plan plus the SAMP plus a services plan all thrown together in a different way, which incorporates a breaking down of risk in different components, what we know about those risks, what the future risks are going to be, and it's very, very clearly laid out. I think it's an excellent document and something that staff should be very proud of. I've made some comments in workshops about that, but I think it needs to be said on the record. I wanted to make a couple of comments, or at least suggestions, if anything. I want to, actually, if we can go to page 449. I know it's a long way down, but this, which is the asset strategies. Asset Management Improvement Plan. So it's clearly identified the need to update all of the asset management plans to currency using new software, which is a great idea. I just wanted to ask if that our understanding of the future impacts of climate change are going to be incorporated into that, into those new asset management plans, but also broken down in some way to identifying what would be the business as usual options versus betterment options. So to identify gaps in resourcing due to what the new needs are likely to be. Now, the reason I suggest this is so that we, as a group, have an opportunity then to say to our political masters, we've already identified what we would do normally and what we're going to need to do in the future to upgrade the management of our assets. And really, this could be across the board. I've just focused specifically on this particular plan. It could be a number of other plans of the same thing. But the idea being that there's at least some understanding of what that gap is between business as usual and the betterment needs, because they will be needs. This is the sort of thing that would ultimately figure in an adaptation plan, which I note is identified within the future, the long-term financial plan. For a couple of years' time, we'll have that sort of done. This is the sort of thing that would be put into that sort of a plan. So it's just a suggestion that, because it would be helpful for us when we go into bat for more resources. We need these resources. It's identified here quite clearly in this plan. There's a difference in the level of resourcing we need for certain things. So that's just a comment or a request more than anything else. The other thing is I just wanted to mention here, those risk assessments that are in those new risk assessments that are there, the high, medium, low, or whatever, they need a little bit more explanation, like how the risk matrix was created. I think I mentioned it in the workshop. I didn't see it there anywhere, any understanding of that risk matrix, how those risk levels were determined, how they came about. That again is just to sort of complete that circle so that everyone has a good understanding of how those categories were created. And last but not least, I noticed deep down a mention of planning trainees and a lack of budget for planning. We've got trainees doing planning, and that bucket of money is going to run out. I think by the end of the year, is that correct? And look, it just occurred to me that if I'm assuming that that's a bucket of money that's been provided to us via a grant, and that grant money is coming. I don't know. I can't remember. But if so, and the budget is able, we should be considering perhaps at the end of the year extending those for further trainees, because it's one of the key areas where we're struggling to hold and maintain staff is in the planning area, and I think the Deputy General Manager would agree that that's a critical area that we need to retain staff. So that were the only comments. I'm very, very pleased with the whole suite of documents, and the staff should be congratulated.
Thank you. Yeah, good questions. The Acting GM's going to speak to that, but that trainee budget was that announcement by the government not start of this year, was it? Or last year? No, back last year. So that's part of that, and I just whispered, and I think I'll let Matt answer the question.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in no particular order. With regards to, just for clarity, Councillor, you're talking about specifically planning trainees? or are you talking about trainees in general?
Well, actually, I'm really talking about trainees in general, but I did notice that there was a specific item right towards the end of the resourcing policy, which specifically highlighted that the funding for planning trainees is going to be gone by the end of the year. And immediately I thought, well, hold on a minute, let's try and fix that. Let's see if we can't. I mean, we don't need to make that decision right now, although it's, you know, it should be in our long-term financial thinking that we need to fund some more trainees across the board.
So through you, Mr Mayor, not sure if councillors are aware, we do have 2 junior staff on cadetships at the moment. They're seconded internally. With regards to planning to trainees, you don't want to have too many trainees all at once, or else you dilute the impact that you have on those. So we do have some funding there and moving forward, but we will be trying to fill another one by the end of this year on there. Traineeships and junior positions generally, for the first time in a while, we'll be advertising for a wastewater officer trainee going forward, which is very exciting for that team because they're very hard to fill positions. So we have targeted a number of positions. We just need to be cognizant of the approach. We owe it to these juniors coming in that we give them the best opportunity to learn. And if we do have too many on at once, it does take away from their opportunities to learn. It becomes a burden on staff, taking away their operational capabilities those times. So we'll be staged. Funding notwithstanding, it still should be the position of council as an organisation to ensure that we're replenishing our staff with a certain percentage of juniors to come through from corporate social responsibility. If anything else, we want to be growing our local talent and trying to keep them local from school through to their professional lives. Second one is about climate change and its inclusion in the asset management plans. The template that we are using considers climate change as a specific risk area and how council will be addressing that. As to those mitigation strategies and so on that are in there, it's up to the individual asset how we go about this. So the reason why it's a section in the template is we address it as an asset class and what we can do there. The challenge will be how do we mirror that in an integrated way into a long-term financial plan. Short term it works quite well, but long term it's harder to be able to predict what's going to come up in 10 years' time from a financial capacity point of view. And then with regards to the resourcing strategy, the resourcing strategy is a big document as it is. If we go to a more micro level in that document, it becomes even bigger. So the asset management plans are meant to be providing the path to the detail, and we'll have those risks spelled out in a bit more micro detail within them.
Thank you, Acting General Manager. No, that's fantastic. That's great. I wasn't expecting to see that level of granularity in this report, but just really a request that when you do get to do those quite specific asset management plans, that we can actually see really quite clearly where the gap is between what we would do normally, what business as usual, and what we're going to need to do in terms of betterment. If that's articulated in each one of these little plans, then we have a much better understanding of how much extra resourcing we need to do those extra things, which maintains sustainability across our whole shire. So it was just a request. I'm not suggesting we insert that into this current plan. But thanks for your response.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Councillor, you were talking about the development services team earlier, I think. That was a Department of Planning grant. It was over 2 years. It comes to an end at the end of this year. We found cost efficiencies in doing that, and we were able to put 2 cadet planners on. We have found success in actually seconding within our existing teams, and so we've had 2 mature age existing employees come across. Now one has a permanent role. We had two vacancies in the development services team at the time, a planner and a senior planner. The senior planner's job still remains vacant. So the second cadet, we were able to move into a permanent position straight off, and that gives opportunity for her to progress through the the whole program. So that's guaranteed. We've taken that, worked that into an existing budget. The other one is a secondment for 2 years. So at the end of the 2 years, when that degree is finished, that person then has the choice to go back to their standard role, or we would have to look at whatever the opportunities were within the team. As I said, there's still a vacancy with a senior planner. Probably more with that team at the moment, though, is looking at moving forward to secure a traineeship, if we can, for health and building. As one of our two health and building officers indicated, that he'll be retiring in another year or two. So we do have to balance across that team. But just to clarify that was a Department of Planning grant, which we were able to get maximum opportunity out of. We've been able to secure full-time employment for one of those two cadets, and the other one is a secondment. Will be their choice as to whether they go back to their substantive role or whether there is an opportunity within the Council's Development Services team going forward.
Thank you very much for that. So it sounds like the program was quite successful, really. So that grant money coming from the planning department was put to good use. It was very successful. I guess the reason I mention it is because I saw it there, and it just struck me that at the moment we're discussing the long-term financial planning and strategic direction of the council, and we as a group should be considering how we resource these sorts of traineeships, really. Perhaps we don't just rely on grant coming through from another agency like Department of Planning, which is fantastic if it happens, but I'd love to see us supporting traineeships across the board as much as we possibly can, within the budget constraints, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on item 10? No?
Can I just make a comment, Mr Mayor? I think it's important to get an understanding out there in our community that what these plans do now is build on the last two terms of council, the work that our senior staff and with their support of their staff have done in getting us into this position where we are now. If we look at, for example, at the operational plan, the budget, where we're planning to deliver an operating surplus, at $25.7 million in capital works, with $13 million that was going into roads. I mean, that doesn't happen overnight. It's on the back of some really solid planning, in this case obviously by the infrastructure team. I think if you look at our processes in terms of the planning side, the other Deputy General Manager's team, you can very clearly see that we've actually had some, what I consider to be significant improvements in the way that our planning documentation is dealt with in DAs and stuff. You look at it in terms of time frames, that sort of stuff just doesn't happen overnight. So I guess the challenge is actually getting the broader community to understand just how much work goes into this stuff to actually get us to this position. But at the same time, getting to understand, as we know here, that there's some challenges coming up for the next council after this one. This is about positioning future councils, as it says, future ready combined operations. So the challenge is to get some clear understanding by our communities where we've come from, where we are, and where we're going.
Yeah, well said, thank you. Any further discussion at all? All right, well, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against, that's carried. Thank you, everybody. All right, can I have somebody move that we move out of the Committee of the Whole? Moved by Councillor Poole, seconded by Councillor Pearson. All those in favour? Against, that's carried. That concludes the ordinary section for the time being. Now move to the